It's been a really busy spring for us here in the Raleigh garden, and normally I get things pruned just as they're finishing flowering. So these Weigela that are here would normally have been pruned almost a month ago. This loropetalum would have certainly been pruned over a month ago, but we had to, we've had a lot going on, so I'm a little late. And so my pruning, I'd really like to get after that loropetalum very hard. I'd like to get after some of these things a little harder than I'm getting after them, meaning I want to take them down a little further than that. But we have the open garden event on June 20th, and I don't think people want to drive or fly or come across town or wherever you're coming from to come to the open garden and see a bunch of sticks that I prune down to the ground. Well, I wouldn't prune anything down to the ground, but I would prune them in such a way that, you know, that wouldn't be fresh looking. So I'm trying to do the pruning that I need to do out here in a way that leaves the plants looking pretty good. So this gold Weigela, that is one of the absolute centerpieces of this garden. Really, you see it in the background of a lot of the Q&As. It was out here on the path, so I had to size control it a bit and then bring the height down some overall. And I think I've left it in pretty good shape, and we've got a month before people are here. So any flushing out it starts to do from that pruning should have it looking pretty good. But you'll notice, if Steph will come in here, any place I cut it, I tried to cut it just above a union like this. I could go in here and clean that up a little bit closer, but you can see that right there. That's obviously gonna be a spot where new growth is going to come from. So as I was looking to prune this thing, you know, I'll prune it down to a spot where I know it's going to branch from and I can get it to branch some pretty quickly. I'll do a lot of indiscriminate pruning where I'll take and do that. But that's the kind of, you leave all the raggedy ends and you leave it in a way that it's very slow to come back out. But if you make cuts to spots like that, like I just showed you, then it'll just flush right. All I need is about 2 inches of growth on that, and this plant's gonna look great again by the time anybody's here looking at it. So that's just more of a precision type of pruning that I would do. And then we had to gain some control back here because we have stuff everywhere. One of the things I've talked about in this garden in the past is wanting to have enough material here for us to make our own compost and mulch and all those kinds of things. And it's taken 4 years to have enough material, but now we have piles of material when I go through and start cutting on material now, organic material that we can use. And a lot of times you'll see me just do chop and drop, which would be me taking a piece off of this plant right here and just throwing it underneath itself to allow it to mulch itself. That's totally fine. If the plant is healthy and it doesn't have leaf spot problems, it doesn't have, you know, insects on the back of it, you know, those kinds of things, then you can absolutely just chop this stuff off. We got our path back through here. We had somebody come and visit the garden a week or so ago, and we had just gotten a rain. And when we had just gotten a rain, this osmanthus is bent over, the loropetalum is bent over, these are bent over, everything back here is bent over, and this path is about this wide. So I had to get that that back under control. The dark foliage Weigela, all I did was just get it off the path and cut back a little bit to where I still left a lot of this new growth coming on it, so that when people are here in a couple of weeks. Then there's some rescue pruning back here. Steph, if you want to come back a little further. Back here I had rescue things. Everything is loving the spot underneath the red bud. The sun is unfortunately gonna try to mess with us over there. She's gonna go to the other side and look back this direction. Everything's loving this spot under this red bud over here to the point where things have gotten kind of wild. We've got a hemiboa that's eating the bed a little bit here. That's gonna have to be controlled a bit. I don't think we've ever shown this, have we, Steph? The hemiboa on the channel. Really beautiful ground cover under here, but it's getting a little bit, it needs some control added to it. The camellia that was here is getting wider. What is it? This is blush? Bella Rouge. Gosh, we've got a lot of camellias in this garden. This is Bella Rouge, which is one of the lower growing ones, but it tries to get wider. I can cut these. Steph, if you'll come closer in here, I'll show you on, camellias are really easy to prune and not know you pruned them because the branching is layered. It's like a flat layer where you get the center branch is here and you get these side pieces coming off. If you take and cut one, can they see that right there, you think? just cut one to there like that, then you can hardly tell I cut it because I still have that branch sticking out from the end of that cut, if that makes any sense. I can do that on any of these where I want to cut them back, and I can see some of the bigger branches you'll be able to see, but some of the smaller branches you can do that with, and nobody can really tell you made a cut, which is my goal here, because again, we have about 30 days before hundreds of people are going to be here in the garden. The calla lily is super aggressive. So we got the hemiboa eating one side, the calla lily eating the other side. So I cut some of those leaves off the calla and just mulched those right in place. Just dropped them right down as mulch. But it was on the back of this gardenia and on the back of that camellia. So that's under control a bit better. Our gray ghost Elysium was just completely and totally being eaten by the orange flowering osmanthus. All I had to do was take the weight off of it. This was leaning down this far into the path every time it rains, and I took off those pieces on the side, and that seems to have, taking that weight off, has stood it back up and gotten it off of the top of the gray ghost Elysium. I want to prune this more, but I didn't want to do it before people were here. I was going to keep it like this, but I think ultimately I probably need to take about 2 or 3 feet out of the top of this to get it to fill in more ultimately, but I'm not going to do it right this minute. I'm just trying to get this path again open for people to walk through and rescue plants that things are laying on. I went ahead and limbed up the Chinese snowball viburnum and took a few branches off the top of the Juliet Clara, but this had limbs all the way down to here, so I've limbed it up a little more. I've got to restake it straight like that. You can go through if you want to and take off these spent flowers if you want to, because they do linger on there for a long time, but I'm not that worried about something like that. The osmanthus fragrans, the loropetalum, and the other osmanthus fragrans on the other side of this, I'd like to take about 3-4 feet out of the top of them and have them fill in a little bit down here at the bottom some. It's not something, again, I want to do before we invite people to the garden. I want it looking fresh and new, with new growth and that kind of thing. But I am just rescuing plants. There's a podocarpus here, the osmanthus, and the loropetalum was making it all the way around the corner, laying on top of the podocarpus, but it's all cleared out now. And then around this side, all I did on the loropetalum was try to take off some weight off of it so that it stood back up some. So it's 2 feet further this way than it's ever been. But if I took off 1 foot and the other foot got taken by it standing back up by taking the weight off of it. I butchered it a little, but not too bad. It should look great when people are here. And then rescued an azalea and then pruned a couple azaleas here. But that's what we have going on here. In the back is trying to get the paths back open, trying to cut on things without making it look like you've cut on things. You can do a lot of precision pruning like this. So let me show you a couple other things we pruned. When you have as many things as we do in a garden like this, you have seasons that kind of overlap, where we have bulbs come up early and then something else kind of comes up in that space later. And sometimes those bulbs can be in the way of something. In this particular case, we have peonies here, which, for those of you in the north, your peonies may last all summer long, but ours typically by July are really fading back to the ground already. But I don't want it laying on top of this pittosporum the entire season. I've got one that's too close to this pittosporum because the pittosporum's gotten wide. So I'm going to dig it up ultimately, probably in the fall, and transplant one out of there because I know they're too close together now. And the rest of them have filled in so well. But I just put this little cage in place just to try to make sure that that thing's not being killed by this thing, and something I'm going to fix later. I went ahead and limbed up the Golden Falls Redbud off the ground again. It's so incredible how fast this thing grows that I'm seeing that's how much growth. I cut it in the winter when it had no leaves on it, and it's already grown that much. You can see the leaf cutter bees come along. You're going to see this on them. Leaf cutter bee came along, cutting pieces out of here. They go and line their whatever little tubular shaped thing they've got wherever it is, but they'll line them with pieces of leaves like this. They love to use these red buds like this. So you got to see a few holes in there. If you were asking me, what can I do about this? Nothing. Your garden is part of nature. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. We've planted something that a native bee, we've planted a named variety or a named cultivar of a native tree, and it's a native bee is taking advantage of it. So I'm kind of like that, actually. The grape, the razzmatazz grape along the front of the building gets out of control pretty quick in the spring. The growth will slow down on it as it gets hot during the summertime, so it really only requires 1, maybe 2 prunings during the season. But it gets down here on the cryptomeria, it tries to eat the sunshine, or the Florida sunshine alyssium over there. It tries to eat the building. So I've got in here and pruned on that. It's not hardly costing me any fruit. There's hardly any fruit on the new growth. That it came out and started fruiting on what was growth from last year, and then it put on new growth for this year. So cutting that part off is not costing me any fruit. We're not gonna eat the fruit anyway, probably. I mean, I'll eat a couple of them as I walk by here, but mostly birds are going to take advantage of the vine. Last year, if you remember, I staked this across the top. I had left it in a pile over here for like 2 years, and then it finally had enough energy for me to stake it across the top here. And so now I just keep it shaped around the door and around the window on that side, but pretty straightforward. Pruning once or twice a year. This October Magic Orchid Camellia, it's one that kind of grows a little more upright and narrow. That's October Magic Ruby in front of the building over there. Tends to grow a little flatter. But the way I've been pruning this one, but keeping some height out of it while I was waiting for this palm to get taller, I've encouraged some width on it that I didn't necessarily ultimately want in it. And so I got to prune a little bit of this width out. But you can make these cuts on, like I said, on camellias so easy, and make them where people can't see that you made them. There is a blue spruce. Did you want me to make a cut like that stuff? There's a blue spruce down here, and it needs rescuing from the camellia. I find this one kind of funny because I got that blue spruce, I'm saving it from heat by having a little shade on its roots over here. And then I've got a palm here, which I'm got near the house to kind of give it a little winter protection. So this one's cold protected, and that one's heat protected, right here together. There's one, I'm slowly limbing this up. We should have a video on Monday on windmill palms. It'll be a short video. If you're following along, I think you'll see this video maybe Friday or Saturday, and then that video will be on Monday where I talk more about the palm. But this thing has really, this trunk it's trunking really fast now, and it's got a lot of new growth up in the top. So every so often I come in here and just take off one more of these, and slowly but surely we'll limb it up out of our face in time. There's a couple more, one going over the camellia and one going up over the loropetalum back there that I may go ahead and cut off in the next few weeks. But for now, again, now we can see under here a little bit better, the container that's under there, and anything else we're growing out here in front of it. We put up a video talking about this Jekyll Island Bignonia a week or 2 ago about it had been sprayed. It is actually alive and coming back out pretty quickly. It's got a big enough root system on it. I think it hopefully will just recover the fence in a single season here. But we talked about in that video, went through what you would do if you accidentally sprayed something and you knew you did it right then. This one we didn't know, it just died back, but it hasn't killed it completely, and it should come back out. The one thing it did damage though enough that I've got to do some cutting on is this alyssium. This Miss Scarlet alyssium has a big dead branch in it from that particular event, and I'm just going to go down in here, and at this point I think if you've got any dead damaged branching on anything, you can go ahead and try to cut it out at this point. I'd like to get this thing filling back in that direction, and so the way we'll do that is I'm going to go get a pair of pruners. Okay, see how much of the plant was dead there. I think there were 2 in the pot originally, so luckily it killed one and didn't kill the other one. But I think all I need to do here, and I don't need to go get any pruners. All I need to do here is just prune this a bit. Any pruning you do on something will encourage growth. So if I can slow the growth down over here on this side, where it's actively growing right now, then it doesn't take a whole lot of that, just stop the growth on it, then I can encourage growth, you know, all the way around it. So that'll be what I'll try to accomplish here over 2 or 3 prunings. We'll just prune it, try to encourage some growth, and hopefully it'll just fill in on that other side. That holly is going to get so big that it's probably not going to matter all that much in the future. They're going to be up against one another regardless. But there you go, half the Lycium was dead, and that's fine, no problem. Luckily the whole thing's not dead, and a little bit of pruning on it like I just did will encourage some growth on the other side. We have a lot of pruning videos on the channel over the years. If you want to go back and look, I put the pruning videos in a playlist called Pruning. If you want to know more about all the tools that we use and timing on pruning, because I actually have a over on the Learn to Garden video series, you can learn, you know, all the tools, when to prune things. I've got the list for shrubs, trees, perennials, and vines when you would prune them. So some things you wouldn't prune in the winter, and some things you can prune in the winter, so on and so forth. But if you want to learn when or how or what to prune and when you can prune it, you can, the Learn to Garden video series has a discount code below this video. So that's some of the back garden pruning. What we've got left is probably a limb here and a limb there, and of course clean up. There's branches everywhere that need to be cleaned up. Going to jump in the front garden. We've got a couple things out there that need a little bit of rescue pruning. So whereas everything back here has been just vigorous, pruning it back because it got over vigorous, we've got a couple things out there in the front garden that are actually endangering themselves that we'll show you in a upcoming video. Thanks for watching.